Inside the Arena is presented by Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel, Seattle's closest sportsbook.
Welcome to Inside the Arena, your source for everything off the ice, off the court, and outside the field of play. With your hosts, KOMO Sports Director Niko and KOMO Senior Reporter Chris Daniels.
It is our Diamond edition. Wow. Of Inside the Arena. Number 75.
You know, what's funny is like all these anniversaries, 1, 2, etc. They have all these things. Like, you have them every number after 75 or just milestones?
Well, this one, I think, is Diamond and Gold.
We'll just,
if you want to throw in Gold.
We'll just stick with it. Yeah. Diamond. Lasts forever, just like ITA. Been a lot of fun.
Well, this has been a fun show to do. Everything off the ice, off the court, off the field of play. There's a lot to talk about this week in Seattle sports when it comes to kind of the business side, from whether it be the Sounders to the Storm, Memorial Stadium, the Mariners, the Seahawks. There's already stuff going on. Yeah,
well, that's what's really special. There's no slow time of year in Seattle sports. Like, there's always something going on, that whether it's the impacting the field of play, as we like to say, or off it, and I just love that even in the offseason, the Storm has been off, yet we have a big new era going on with Sonia Raman taking over as head coach. We're going to bring you that interview a little bit later on. I love the hire. I mean, you don't know for sure until the seasons get going and the results come in. But, based on, and this, Chris, is when the Storm has hired coaches in the past, it's almost like it's somebody they knew, like somebody who's like in their back pocket, so to speak. They know he was on the staff. Some of the other guys that we've seen before were on the staff, or at least somebody knew. This is completely outside the Storm tree, so to speak. And not that I think it's a good thing.
And she coached in the NBA, and it was nice to see some congratulatory tweets and posts about her getting the job with the Storm, which I think speaks to her ability and what she's going to bring to the Storm. Again, you'll hear from her later in this show.
Yeah, can't wait to bring you that.
But first, what we always like to do, we like to touch them all. The four corners. Yeah, here we are. What's good, what's bad? Off the ice, off the court, off the field of play. Niko, I know there's a lot that's good.
There's so much good. I mean, I want to bottle up that 24-hour period of last week when you saw Sunday into Monday, the Seahawks win. UW men and women hoops, they start their season with a win. Sounders got a playoff win. The Kraken got a win. Like, how cool is that? How cool is it in Seattle sports? Now, normally that would just be a good on its own, but I want to talk specifically about the Seahawks. The idea here that they're all in, and not that they're ever anything less than that. But when you make a trade at the deadline like they did for Rashid Shaheed of the New Orleans Saints, we could talk about the X's and O's all day. I can tell you he stretches the field vertically. I can tell you he played in Clint Kubiak's team in New Orleans, and I can tell you how special that is. But for me, I love the message it sends. The last 3 years now, John Schneider has made huge trades at the deadline. Leonard Big Cat Williams back in 23. Boy, what a move that has turned out to be. Even worth that second-round pick and then some, in my opinion. Last year, they got Ernest Jones. And I know he was injured last week, but boy, oh boy, he is the heart and soul of that defense. I love watching him play. Huge move. This one, Rashid Shaheed on the surface doesn't move the needle like those guys, but I'm going to tell you why it's so important, because it sends that message. You look at this Seahawks team, there's not a glaring hole like there maybe has been in years past. Like last year, like, man, they need something at linebacker. Man, they need up front of it. Like these other trades for Big Cat and Ernest Jones were that. This Seahawks team, as we saw against the Commanders, is pretty darn complete. And so when you make a move like this, I'll go to what Justin Hollander said about the moves for Naylor, Suarez, and how they wish they could have done more. He's like, if we make this team 1% better, we've done our jobs. This move for Rashid Shaheed makes you 1% better. He can help on kick returns. He can stretch the field vertically, like I said. And there's a message that goes with that. It goes to your current guys that are busting their tails every day and says, hey, we believe you can go to the Super Bowl. And we're going to give you every asset available to do that. And so that's why this one is so impactful to me. It's not like the Jets trade we saw with Sauce Gardner, but in our bubble here in Seattle, it's a message to that team. We believe in you, and we believe you're a contender. So that's why I love this move so much. That's why it's so positive to me, regardless of what the results are. Hopefully they're good, but I love the message it sends.
I've already seen some people say, hey, I don't love giving up the draft capital, but it may also be a signal that John Schneider and his front office team are looking ahead to the draft as being a weak draft. There's been some discussion. Right. There's no franchise quarterback in the next draft. There's a lack of talent coming up in this next draft, and so they're losing a couple of picks. They don't have a lot of draft capital. It also may mean as you were just to your point, that they think they have their team for the next couple of years.
That's just it. And I also, to your point, weaker draft, but I also think you look at the Seahawks team, some pending free agents, but expecting to get a lot of that stuff done. What do you really need, right? When you look at this team, you're essentially drafting depth or insurance, probably another, help out in the offensive line. You're probably, at one point you were saying, oh, you're going to draft another receiver. I mean, Shaheed is on a rest of the season contract, but you've addressed that right now in trading. So yeah, I have no issue with the capital. Ask me again if things don't work out on this, but given the moment, given the message, I love the trade in every way.
And both lines, I think, for the first time in a long time, people are happy with.
They look amazing.
The defensive and offensive lines.
No question. Hey, how about those people that in Vegas said over under win total in the offseason 7.5?
Yeah.
I told everybody I knew that places bets with our friends at Snoqualmie. I'm like, you might want to do the over on that one.
Yeah. It would have been a good bet. Well, I'll tell you what else is a good bet right now in the early part of the season. The Seattle Kraken.
Heck yeah.
Funny when the expectations are low, and we've talked about this both on and off the air. Not a lot of buzz going into season 5. It was kind of like, okay, there's been 2 years not making the playoffs, and we know how much of a buzz there was between season 2 and season 3 because of the playoff run. So expectations are low. Lane Lambert, the new head coach, the third coach in 3 years, and it definitely seems like defensively they are a better squad. Joey Decord lights out again a couple of times here in the last week and a half. Eberle, I think I've seen him. It seems like he's got an extra pep in his step this year, and working with Beniers on the same line. It seems like those two are doing some magic together. I think Climate Pledge Arena has been cracking with the Kraken. I guess the pun wasn't intended there, but I mean, it seems like there's a different vibe around that team in the first month of the year. And as we record this, they are at the top of the Pacific Division.
Absolutely. And that's huge. I know so many games to go, 80 or so, or 70 or so, whatever it might be. But I also think that we saw here on Inside the Arena, my conversation with Lane Lambert, you get the sense he's a much different coach, same personality in a lot of ways, but much different than Dave Haxtell and Dan Bilesma. And I think that's just what this team needed. I mean, there's accountability. I talked to Matty Beniers. He's like, yeah, there's a much different intensity. And I think at least early season, that is showing up. How many times the last couple of years have we, Chris, lamented that, the Kraken would score a goal and give one up right away, or once they were down, they were done. That's not the case with this team. And maybe some of these overtime losses could be a touch frustrating, but at least you're getting a point. And more often than not, they are fighting and rallying to get to that point. So I think it's in its own way, a lot of the same players, but a new attitude, a new mindset. And I think it starts at the top with Coach Lambert. I love what he brings to the table. One of those things, again, ask me in a few months after how things go, but early on, the results, inarguable to me.
Best start, right?
Best start in franchise history. You can't beat that.
Can't beat that. What don't you like this year?
I'm going to go back to the Seahawks, and it's nothing with the team. And this is something that Seattle sports fans have dealt with for as long as we've talked about sports. All of a sudden, everybody loves the Seahawks. They're the same team they've been since September, a very good football team. 2 losses all year by a combined 7 points. One was in the opener, and the other one, literally the entire starting secondary was hurt, yet they still almost beat a playoff likely team in Tampa Bay. But they have, now they're on national TV. Now we see how good now, Pat McAfee says they're a problem. And I love that he said that. Yeah. Like, you don't want them to say bad things, but it's like, hey guys, we've been here. And I know this is, again, preaching to the choir. We've seen it for decades and decades. That's what I don't like, is that like suddenly the Seahawks are a good team. No, they've been good since the get-go. And I almost feel like it short sells them when you say like, oh, well, we weren't talking about them, but now they're a Super Bowl contender. Or I just mentioned a moment ago, those odds in Vegas. I mean, that was the national perception.
Yeah.
For no other reason than we're here in this corner of the country, and nobody bothered to look and see how Sam was doing in preseason camp. Nobody bothered to take a really close look at just how good Mike McDonald's defense was in the second half of 2024, right? None of that outside of Seattle was talked about. But wait, they beat the Commanders. Now they're good, right? No. They've always been there. So that's what I don't like. It's a good thing, right? Because they are that good. But I just don't like this whole, now they're good. Now, because we watched them out on the East Coast, now they're good.
Chris Collinsworth, I think, was going to write a love letter to John Schneider by the end of that broadcast. My goodness.
It was funny.
Over the top.
That was good. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what I don't like. And really, this could end up being a positive, but it kind of came out of the blue, so to speak, as the Sounders are marching through the MLS playoffs. They quietly put out a press release that some people skipped over, didn't pay much attention to, but that they are doing a strategic capital raise. And they've hired a company to try and explore the repositioning of the stakes within the franchise. This is language that people, that's why you may gloss over. Well, what does that mean? This is the Sounders perhaps making the biggest move since they started in 2009 as an MLS franchise, trying to raise private money for a soccer-specific stadium. Adrian Hanauer, who has been with the franchise from the start, is the majority investor. He spoke earlier this year. We talked about it on the show about trying to build a soccer-specific stadium near the sparkly, somewhat new training facility down in Renton that will likely host a team during the World Cup next year. It comes at the same time that they have also hired a guy who seems to have some impressive credentials as their chief marketing officer, really high-level C-suite, Ro Vega, who worked for Nike, Beats by Dre, FIFA World Cup, Olympics, NBA All-Star Game, and he's tasked with raising the profile of the Sounders on a global stage. So they are making a move here in more ways than one. And I think the initial pushback, and this is why I put it in the negative column, is there are Sounders fans who are saying, I don't know how I'd ever get to Renton to a stadium. If you build a 25 to 32,000 seat stadium in Renton,
Sure.
There is a heavy rail line there that the Sounder does go on, but only a couple of times a day during the week. You'd be in the same situation like we saw a few weeks ago with Mariners playoffs and Seahawks Sunday games happening at the same time, about having to add service there. Doesn't necessarily feed everybody like you would think if you're strategizing about putting a stadium there. It is convenient. The stop, you just walk about 50 feet and you're at the Sounders training facility. But this is a complicating factor in deciding whether to put a stadium there, is how many people are going to be able to use that? Do you have an agreement with BNSF? Do you have an agreement with Sound Transit? How are you going to get people in and out of that area? It's not an area that's easily accessible even by car. You've seen the issues over the years with just getting to Starfire, where they used to train. I just wonder if there is another outcome here for the Sounders if they do pursue a new soccer-specific stadium. Years ago, they looked at Memorial Stadium, actually had some renderings for a 25 to 30,000 seat stadium there. We know that that's not going to happen now with the project that is well underway. But the Lumen lease expires in 2032, so you think that's not that far away.
No.
6 years down the road. They're raising this money to potentially come up with a project within the next couple of years and try to break ground down there.
Yeah, listen, I'm gonna give you how I feel about it from the standpoint of I love the ambition. The Sounders are always super ambitious. I know you feel the same way about that too. Like you would much rather have an owner that wants to pursue new opportunities, things like that, instead of, as we've seen in other sports, not necessarily in Seattle, but in other cities, that they're just doing the bare minimum, or like. Look at some of these other Major League Baseball or whatever sport franchise that lose their team, NHL, the Coyotes, Major League Baseball with the A's, because they didn't do good stuff with their arena, right? But that said, I mean, Lumen is still a pretty awesome place to watch a soccer game. I understand that the trend and the way is those more intimate, right on top of the field type venues, and so I applaud that. But I just wonder where this is going to go, because Lumen's location is something we're all used to as sports fans. Like, how to navigate if you're going to go see the Sounders, the Reign, the Seahawks, the Mariners, whoever it is. Like, you already know how to navigate it, right? And that's not to say Renton can't, the Longacre site, whatever, can't do it. But it's just, when you see, okay, we're going to have to raise this amount of money, in my head, I'm like, you're kind of okay already. And again, maybe that's being short-sighted on my end. It could very well be. I'm not the owner of a franchise. But it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. Can they raise that capital? Do investors see enough potential in that site? And that's really what I'm going to be interested to see, because, it's right in our wheelhouse on this show.
Yeah.
But like, again, just looking at it straight up face value, I'm like, I love going to Sounders games at Lumen. The atmosphere is incredible. Maybe it'll be even better if they build a new place down there in Renton. But, it'll be interesting to see if investors share that vision and that dream. And I want to finish my point with, once again, saying I love the ambition. I think every owner should strive to do what Adrian Hanauer is doing with that club.
Yeah, and I can make the argument that it would be a smart move to build something 30 to 35,000 seat venue down there right next to your training facility. There is the space. It's probably going to be easier to permit and build. And then have your major events, have your Leagues Cup at Lumen Field when you're going to get 65,000 people interested in going to that game. But I just wonder if that market analysis is being done as well about just what the traffic, where your fan base, where your season ticket holders are right now. Are you going to ask them to drive further away from, say, Snohomish County or from North Bend down to Renton? And this was a discussion that actually was had with building a Sonics arena way back when in Renton at the old Boeing site, and how tough it was going to be for people to get down there. And that was before we had a lot of light rail service. This is not light rail service that's going towards the Sounders facility, the team facility. We are talking about Sounder heavy rail with all sorts of other complications. And that would be one of the things I think they would have to figure out before they ever move dirt.
I think that they've probably researched that quite a bit, right? If they're at the point of sending a press release out. But that did kind of strike me like, oh, there's a press release about this. Like, with the utmost respect in the world, me and you watching KOMO News probably aren't going to have a few million to chip in towards you. You know what I'm saying? So that was interesting to me. But, I'm intrigued. I want to see how it plays out. And I've got faith in that ownership group. I'm really intrigued by this.
Well, one thing that we can say is negative, because there's not a lot to talk about this week. But we like to update people every week.
Sure.
On the potential return of the Supersonics. Wait, there's an air horn. The only thing I'll really say on this week, Nico, is it's going to be interesting to see how the Seattle mayoral race goes.
Yeah.
There is a kind of there is a cross section of sports and politics there, in that we have seen John Stanton, Todd Lewicki, others in the sports community try to back Bruce Harrell. Happy with Bruce Harrell. Harrell has talked repeatedly about bringing back the Sonics. We don't know where Katie Wilson stands on this. We don't know whether, if she was mayor, she'd be interested in working out something for a Sonics return, whether that means, public infrastructure or otherwise. So that's one little side element to the Supersonics minute this week. Not a lot to say, not new information coming from Adam Silver, but we do know there's exciting news about the basketball team that is playing here right now.
The Storm, I really enjoyed their season. First of all, we love being their partner here at KOMO, and of course, CWRX Seattle. But I think that was a great season because, you traded your star Jewel Lloyd. You still had NECA, obviously, Skylar, and some other great players, but they nailed the draft with Dominique Malonga. You got Gabby Williams back. They made the signing of Erica Wheeler, who instantly endeared herself to Seattle, and the Brittany Sykes trade. These were all good things they did. And listen, Vegas went to win the whole thing, and the Storm had them. The Storm had them.
Yes.
I was lamenting
until they turned the lights out.
Turn the lights out, which was silly. Asia Wilson, as amazing as an incredible player, she gets every call.
Yeah.
It's like you're watching Michael Jordan again, as far as the officiating is concerned. So I give the Storm a lot of credit. And yet, despite all that, they said we can be better. It's the same point I was making with the Seahawks trade. We can be even better. So that's why, they bring in Sonia Raman and great credentials, formally introduced as the new head coach of the Storm. What a pleasure to sit down with Sonia. Incredible story. Groundbreaking in so many ways. Great basketball, obviously, IQ. So a lot to talk about there. I want to bring you my sit down. Thanks to the Storm for letting me sit down with her one-on-one before everybody gets to talk to her at the press conference. We're going to bring you that full interview right now after the break.
Looking for the ultimate game day spot? Head up to Hawks Peak Sports Bar and Grill at Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel. The place to be for game days. With over 60 TVs, you won't miss a single play, no matter where you sit. Grab your crew, your favorite bites, and your go-to drink, and catch every touchdown, dunk, or goal in style. Hawks Peak Sports Bar and Grill, where every seat is the best seat in the house. Learn more at snowcasino.com.
This is something so special, obviously. A basketball life, earning this opportunity. I'm sure it's all been a whirlwind, kind of thinking about what is it like when you think about it in that way, that it's this new opportunity, head coach in the W, earning this opportunity.
I don't know if it's fully sunk in yet, but I know I'm really, really excited. Just getting here, getting to meet people in person, tour the facility, it's just been incredible. So I'm sure it'll sink in more as I go, but just really excited right now.
And what was it about this franchise, the city, the Storm, that when you saw that opportunity, that's the one for me?
I mean, this organization is incredible. There's such a rich history here, tradition of championship tradition, and an ownership group that's really been visionaries, been ahead of the curve throughout all of the eras. And I think when you look at that ownership group, when you look at the front office with Alicia and Talisa, it's a really incredible organization that you combine with the fan base here, what you have in Climate Pledge, what you have with this facility, the players that want for nothing, and the investment that we're making into them, and it was just a no-brainer.
And that's one of those things, even whether you're coaching in college, in Memphis, New York, you always notice the Storm as kind of a beacon in this sport, right?
Oh, absolutely. And this is a basketball city and a women's basketball hotbed.
Absolutely. I want to just go back a little bit. Basketball, obviously, it's a life in this sport. You love it. When did the love in basketball start? Like, what sparked that thing for you?
Moving to the Boston area and in the 80s and becoming a Celtics fan, I think, was the beginning for me. Starting to play the sport a little bit more. I had played soccer growing up, so pivoting to basketball at that point as I became a bigger Celtics fan and I started to play more and play on an organized team at that point, and it just sort of took off from there. And
it's one thing for you, but family seeing this dream come true. What's that been like in the days since this kind of became official or whatever?
I mean, I think that we're all just enjoying it together. It's so exciting. I mean, Doppler's meeting me at the airport. When I went into my legal profession, I never thought I was going to end up here. So we're all just excited and enjoying every moment of it.
We all love that video, by the way.
Yeah.
It was so it was just a genuine
I mean, it was great. It was great right at the gate.
How cool is that? And certainly, with you landing this job, there's obviously the cultural significance and what that means to so many people. Again, I know you're focused on just coming in here, doing your thing, but it's impossible to ignore that and what it means to so many. What does that mean to you?
I mean, it's really important. It's an honor, it's a privilege, it's a responsibility, and I know I'm a first. I don't want to be the last. So that responsibility along the way of giving everything I have, making the most of these opportunities and opening more doors for the generation that comes after me.
And that's just it too. I'm always struck when there's a special moment like this. That certainly it's for any young person that's hey, Sonia did it, I can do it too. But it's also for everybody else that this becomes more normal, that you're not the last, right?
Right, absolutely. I mean, just knowing that these are opportunities that are available, right? And that's really all you want to do is open up opportunities for everybody and then they seek their path.
I know it's similar to the question I just asked a second ago, but how incredible is that you're just doing something you love, and it can inspire somebody. It might spark a dream in a 10-year-old kid right now. I mean, how special is that part of it?
It's really special. I think I get to do something I love every day, and it's actually a job, which is incredible because I get to coach basketball. And the fact that could impact somebody else that I don't even know, that's a little surreal to me, but it's great.
That's kind of the whole thing with the W right now is it's on the rise. It's been around forever. It is inspiring so many people. You've seen the rise of this game in that way firsthand, obviously, right? And to get this head job at this point and help this Storm take into this new era, that's an incredible opportunity too as well, right?
This league is incredible. I mean, to see the growth of this league as a fan throughout, I mean, I've been a fan of the W since its inception and back in the 90s, and to see where it is now and to see, again, bringing it back to the Storm, being a leader in this league and pushing this league forward, and now being a part of it, it's really special. As
far as this, I know there's so much uncertainty this offseason, right? We just don't know what's going to happen with things off the court, right? But coming into this team at this point, we saw, they took the champs down to the wire in a Game 3. So yeah, I'm kind of pivoting to X's and O's here a little bit here, but how cool is that chance? You see what this team was capable of. You see some of the players that, again, we know there's uncertainty, but it's a really cool juncture to kind of join this organization, right?
For sure. I think that the parts of the fun challenge for me are how can I unlock the potential? How can we help unlock the potential of every single player on this team? And of course, you saw, how good this team was and where they are. And I think just being able to build on that, that tradition that we have here with the Storm is really special.
And when you talk coaching philosophy, that sounds like kind of what it is, being able to unlock whether you're with Memphis or New York, and certainly we've seen the results, right? So what is it about the way you coach or how you talk to players that can help unlock that potential?
I think it starts with relationships for me. So first and foremost, I need to have a relationship with every player, and then prioritizing player development. And for each player, it's going to be different. How you talk to a player, one player to the next. You need to really know each player to know how best to motivate them, to lead them. But also, we're going to collaborate in terms of how we can get that player to reach their full potential. So I think it's really a combination of all of those things.
How has that approach or that coaching philosophy mentality evolved over time from MIT to all the wonderful stops you've done to this point right now?
I mean, I think that there's some parts that have sort of stayed the same, and it starts again with the relationship building. I think that's always been a key part of where I start my process as a coach. But certainly I've learned so much about development along the way, and going to the NBA and studying player development there and how advanced they are in that area. It gave me a lot of ideas of what we can do going forward, and ideas that I've bringing with me to every stop I go to. But I think being really intentional, having goals for each player that both make them a better player and also impact the organization and impact winning is the key to all of that.
And again, I hate to ask roster questions because we don't know, right?
We don't know.
But from a standpoint of you saw this team when you guys went against them, there is that potential there, and there was a lot of talent. What was your impression of that Storm team? And we can hope a lot of those players are back. What was your impression on the talent they had?
Yeah, I mean, a really talented team with really, really great support around them. And I think that's been the case for the Storm throughout. And so I'm really excited to coach the next version of this team and get started with that group.
Okay, so let's talk about Seattle a little bit before I let you go.
Yes.
And I'm sorry you're just going through like the whole car wash today of everybody.
No, let's do it.
From the outside, visiting Seattle as an opponent, what was one thing that stood out about our city?
I love Seattle. So I actually have some personal ties to Seattle. My wife is from the area with her family, so they're all just a little bit north of Seattle in the Snohomish area is where she grew up. So I've always loved Seattle. I've spent quite a bit of time here visiting. We got married here. I love the vibe of the city, the people, the community, the terrain, all of it. I mean, I need to get in hill shape to do these walks out here. I'm excited to explore, new restaurants and get to really know more of the community. But it's a fantastic city.
That's so awesome. And with that familiarity of the city, when you guys would come and visit or whatever it might be, what's your favorite thing to do when you're here?
I would say definitely exploring the restaurant scene. Usually we start there. I start there with a new city. But as someone who came in as more of a fan of the Storm. Going to games. I mean, whenever I'm back here in Seattle, I would go to Storm games, go to Storm practices as well. So that was always something that I look forward to as part of my time here. And of course, spending time with family while we're out here as well. And
you've seen certainly Storm fans, how passionate they are, and now you get to be the one to help lead this team moving forward. What does that mean to you? Obviously, this is such a passionate fan base.
It is. I mean, it's exciting. You want to be somewhere where people are excited, where there are high expectations, where there is this tradition of success. But there's just so much support and so much joy. And being in Climate Pledge and being around that fan base is a really, really special group. So to be a part of it, I plan to really pour myself in, to the team, but also to the greater fan base and community. And I'm excited to do that.
How about that? Whoa, Bill!
We had the Cougar growl, and we have Stormwatch here in the studio.
Now that the thunder's gone and the storm is clear, we appreciate your time, Sonia. Thank you. That was fun. I think it's going to be a great year. Now, obviously, a lot of stuff going on, collective bargaining and all that. So a lot of contracts are kind of in standstill right now. So I'm eager to see that get resolved, hopefully in a great way, but then also with the idea that we can start seeing what this 2026 Storm team is going to look like as far as the roster is concerned.
And this is a city now with all the women's sports represented, more than any other city. Between the Reign, speaking of the Storm, we have the Reign in soccer, we have the Storm in basketball, and we have a brand new hockey team. And they have a name.
Let's hear it.
We'll talk about it next week.
Until then, David Lee.
You've been listening to Inside the Arena with Niko and Chris. Please subscribe on your favorite platform. Until next time.
Inside the Arena was presented by Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel, Seattle's closest sports book.